All will be covered today in China Undercover. You find our information helpful, please subscribe and turn on the notification. It will help us get more motivation to produce more quality videos. Now back to the news. Since the Chinese real estate market plunged into crisis in 2021, many developers have faced financial difficulties, leaving numerous homeowners waiting indefinitely for the completion and delivery of their residential buildings, forcing them to live in rudimentary, unfinished buildings. In the industrial city of Tongquan, Xi'an, China, last week, dozens of property owners gathered together, chanting slogans like "We want our houses." They are part of the many homeowners across the country who are trapped in unfinished buildings.
然后照明的话，你们也可以看到，就用这个太阳能照明灯。我几乎在上面几乎不喝水，也不洗脸，可以说都不刷牙。反正从5月份到现在，就白天打工，晚上上来睡个觉。
Forest City story. From ambitious plans to an empty place. We know that Forest City is a massive development project located in southern Malaysia. It's the brainchild of Country Garden, a Chinese real estate company facing its share of challenges. Originally, the idea was to create housing for a whopping 700,000 people, complete with luxurious amenities. This included a water park, a garden maze, a beach, and a commercial street that's envisioned to be something akin to a shopping mall. However, here's the twist. Hardly anyone is actually using these facilities. Currently, only around 9,000 people call this place home, and many of the residential units you see behind me remain vacant. Forest City serves as a symbol of some fundamental issues contributing to China's property crisis. These issues include excessive construction, heavy borrowing, and a bit of bad luck. Traditionally, real estate has been the primary avenue for wealth accumulation in China. People eagerly invested in a booming property sector that forms a significant part of the world's second-largest economy. Over time, however, the demand to buy properties far exceeded the actual need for housing. This led to the creation of mostly empty and unfinished developments, often referred to as ghost cities throughout the country. These places primarily serve as investment vehicles for those looking to safeguard their money. Over the past couple of years, numerous Chinese real estate developers have encountered financial difficulties. Country Garden was one of the largest survivors and was initially seen as more stable and cautious than its competitors. As part of its strategy in China, Country Garden focused on building in Tier 3 cities, where land was affordable and local governments provided substantial support. They believed these areas would eventually grow, creating demand for their properties. They could construct large projects rapidly and cost-effectively. In the case of Forest City, they aimed to replicate this success. The project launched approximately a decade ago as a joint venture with the local government in the state of Johor, Malaysia. Southern Malaysia was relatively undeveloped, but it's only a short distance from Singapore, one of Southeast Asia's busiest commercial hubs. Initially, Forest City was marketed as a place where affluent Chinese individuals could own a second home or an investment property. It offered a more affordable alternative to Singapore, albeit in close proximity. However, by August, Country Garden reported significant losses, estimating roughly $7.6 billion for the first half of 2023. They struggled to repay their substantial outstanding debts of around $190 billion. This poses a significant problem for projects like Forest City. While the company claims to have sold over 80% of its units, many buyers are Chinese investors who don't reside here. Unfortunately, the value of these units has plummeted, dropping from an average of $280 per square foot for one-bedroom units to about $116. Several factors contribute to this decline. Chinese buyers have been discouraged from investing in Malaysia due to Beijing's restrictions on overseas payments and protectionist sentiments from Kuala Lumpur, which have unnerved potential buyers. Additionally, the economic downturn during the COVID-19 pandemic, coupled with China's recent real estate crisis, has shaken investor confidence in mega developments like Forest City. The fate of the Forest City project remains uncertain. In September, Country Garden narrowly avoided defaulting on its debts, and now the company's creditors are waiting to see if they can find a solution. In a statement, the company expressed optimism about Forest City's potential. However, the developments here and throughout China's housing market could have far-reaching consequences worldwide. Country Garden still refuses to acknowledge that the mega-project Forest City has truly failed. Company representatives argue that Forest City's development has been influenced by external factors such as the COVID-19 pandemic and global economic downturn. While Country Garden had previously committed to continuing to invest and develop Forest City, based on the conglomerate's current situation, it's highly likely that the Forest City project will soon fade into obscurity. China's unfinished buildings. A persistent urban dilemma. In August 2021, 15 unfinished buildings in Yunnan province, China collapsed after being left incomplete for 7 years. Unfinished buildings are structures where construction began but was halted midway due to various reasons. These unfinished buildings can be found in almost every city in China, from major metropolitan areas to smaller cities. While some may undergo revitalization or controlled demolition, many remain standing as permanent scars on the cityscape. In July 2022, a story went viral about a young couple from a Chinese province who purchased an unfinished apartment. They shared their journey through videos, from the excitement of buying the property to the despair when construction suddenly stopped. The couple, Xi'an and Xi'an, made the life-changing decision to buy an apartment in Sonic City on November 6, 2021. While they knew they wouldn't receive the property for 3 years, the prospect of owning their home excited them. They paid a down payment of 450,000 yuan and borrowed 1.2 million yuan, which they planned to repay over 30 years. However, the reality of the hefty mortgage hit them hard in the first month. They expressed regret and questioned why the interest was so high, feeling like they'd be working for the bank for the next 3 decades. Unfortunately, they purchased their property during the peak of China's housing bubble when interest rates were high. They later learned that interest rates in other areas had dropped significantly, making their situation even more challenging. They struggled to balance mortgage payments with rent, cutting back on expenses and dining out to make ends meet. Despite the financial strain, the couple remained optimistic and shared their journey with humor. They acknowledged their impulsive decision to buy a house worth over 1 million yuan while hesitating over a cheap chicken leg. Their lives became a balancing act as they faced a pay cut at Xi'an's workplace, and she could only afford a piece of tofu for dinner. Their optimism continued as they visited their new home, finding joy with each additional floor built. However, their hope was shattered when they learned about the developer Sunak's default on a $750 million bond in May 2022. This unexpected news left them feeling powerless and uncertain about their future. Their story is not unique in China, where many individuals and families are struggling with similar predicaments. Some have even moved into unfinished properties, facing difficult living conditions without basic amenities. So the situation in Zhengshu, where the couple's property is located, is dire. It has become the city with the highest rate of stalled property projects in the country. Data from the Quick China Research Institute shows that 106 problematic properties in Zhengshu are affecting more than 600,000 residents. In the main urban area of Zhengshu, with a population of 7.6 million, this means that 8 out of every 100 people have bought an unfinished property. Nearly 1 in every 3 households could not have their homes delivered on time. The main reason for the prevalence of unfinished buildings in China is the property pre-sale system, which provides developers with high leverage and high turnover. However, this model comes with high risks, and when the funding chain breaks, a debt crisis can ensue for the property and the company. This is why there have been numerous defaults by real estate companies in recent years. Tianjin 117 building, located in Tianjin's Seeking district. The Tianjin 117 building was planned to have 117 floors with an investment of 70 billion RMB. Although it reached an actual height of 596.5 meters, construction was halted in 2015. Grand ambitions, including the world's highest indoor swimming pool, sightseeing hall, and revolving restaurant, were never realized. Today, the exterior walls of Tianjin 117 remain incomplete, making it the tallest unfinished building globally and earning it the title of China's most failed architecture. Australia Garden Village in Guangzhou. This is the largest unfinished residential project in Guangzhou. Homeowners have waited for over a quarter of a century for their houses to be delivered. The developer, Australia America Corporation, initially attracted buyers with promises of a natural pollution-free environment and 20-year interest-free installment payments. However, the developer faced a financial crisis in 1998, and the project was declared bankrupt in 1999. Residents have struggled for their property rights, with some tragically taking their own lives. Shanghai Golden Landmark Tower, situated in Shanghai's financial district. This building's construction began in 2008 but was never completed. It has remained in a state of abandonment with an uncertain future. Beijing Wangfujing Harbor City. Located near the Forbidden City, this project, initiated in 2010, has been suspended since 2015. It was intended to be a large-scale urban complex but remains incomplete. Shenzhen Shenzhen Hong Kong Center Tower. This skyscraper project was planned to be the tallest building in Shenzhen but was halted in 2021 due to changes in building height regulations. Dresser Building in Dushan County. Known as the world's tallest glazed pottery building, this extravagant project in Guizhou province was halted in 2018 and remains unfinished. Hefei Baoan Global Financial Center in Xi'an, a super tall skyscraper project that has faced environmental concerns and remains halted. Dalian Greenland Center in Liaoning. This project started in 2011, but only the lower levels were constructed, and its future remains uncertain. Chengdu Greenland Center in Xi'an, known as the #1 dilapidated building in southwest China. It has remained incomplete for over a decade. Shenyang Bowen Global Financial Center in Liaoning. Originally planned to be one of the tallest buildings in Northeast Asia, it faced a hiatus and significant height reduction, with completion expected by 2027. The unfinished status of many commercial skyscrapers can often be traced back to developers who overestimated their capabilities, leading to financial crises that disrupt funding or encountering policy-related obstacles that hinder completion. Additionally, some commercial buildings may remain incomplete due to fierce competition in the surrounding business district, resulting in insufficient demand and businesses retracting their involvement, which can eventually lead to abandonment. On the other hand, unfinished residential buildings typically stem from real estate developers misappropriating pre-sale funds to invest in other projects before completing the original property. This misallocation of funds disrupts the developer's financial stability, making it impossible to continue construction and resulting in an unfinished state for the project in China. Unfinished projects and homeowners' hardships. A Chinese predicament. The pre-sale system in China lacks support for contract termination and refunds in cases where a building remains unfinished. The consequences of this situation are relatively minimal for the government, property developers, and banks that provide loans. However, the homeowners who bear the greatest risks and suffer the most severe consequences are still obligated to repay their mortgage loans in full. It's not uncommon for homeowners seeking to protect their rights in the case of unfinished buildings to face violence and arrests by law enforcement authorities. In January 2023, Chinese Vice Premier Liu He, speaking at the World Economic Forum, emphasized that loans related to the real estate sector accounted for nearly 40% of bank credit, and income generated from real estate constituted 50% of local comprehensive fiscal strength. Furthermore, real estate assets made up 60% of urban residents' wealth. He acknowledged that if the risks in the real estate sector are not properly managed, they could easily lead to systemic risks. The Evergrande crisis in September 2021 marked a crucial turning point in the Chinese property. Currently, most of these real estate projects are unable to resume construction and cannot be delivered as scheduled. Observers have noted that not only ordinary citizens but even banks have lost confidence in the real estate developers' ability to resolve the issue of unfinished buildings. The National Guaranteed Completion Initiative faces significant challenges, and the Chinese Communist Party is well aware of the severity of this issue. Countless unfinished buildings resemble black holes, indicating a significant social crisis. The future is uncertain. Despite almost a year since the introduction of the guaranteed completion policy, most unfinished buildings have not resumed construction. and their delivery dates remain unknown. It is anticipated that homeowners of unfinished buildings will continue to seek legal protection in the future, which could further contribute to instability within the Chinese communist regime. And that is today's episode. If you found this video informative, please subscribe and ring a bell to get notification. Thank you for watching and see you next time.